One evening, while at home browsing the internet for ebooks to download, I was looking for something to pass the time during my business trips. Hotel internet access in the UK was expensive, so I wanted to find a way to save costs. Many of the ebook sites I came across were charging for downloads, but when I added the word free to my search, I was immediately presented with hundreds of sites offering free downloads. I casually clicked on a link and, without paying much attention to the text, quickly found a list of files to browse. Scanning the titles, I clicked on one that seemed interesting. The first few lines suggested it was a well-written story, so I downloaded it along with a few others. I didn't have much time to explore further, so I returned to the search engine to find more ebooks, but my phone rang. By the time I finished a call with a business colleague about my upcoming trip, I had no more time to continue browsing. The next evening, while in yet another hotel room, I didn't want to spend my time in the bar listening to salespeople, so I opened my laptop and began browsing the ebooks I had downloaded. After reading one about gardening, I opened another titled Made, which I had downloaded from the internet. Recognizing the first few lines, I started reading, but quickly realized the story wasn't what I had expected. What seemed to be a tale of domestic servants turned out to be about a man being forced to wear a maid's uniform by his dominant wife. I closed the file, ordered room service, and took a shower. Just as I finished, there was a knock at the door, and the waitress brought my meal to the room. As I sat down to eat, the suspense from the story made me curious, so I opened the file again, this time fully absorbed. The story introduced me to a world I hadn't known existed. Raised in a strict Christian family, I was fascinated by what was being described. As I continued reading, I realized I was increasingly engaged, even though I felt somewhat guilty. The second story I had downloaded was about a man who enjoyed dressing in women's clothes. As he described his experience, I couldn't help but feel drawn to it. That night, I found my sleep disturbed, but not by the usual anxieties about the next day's meetings. Instead, the stories played over and over in my mind. When I returned home, I couldn't shake the stories from my mind. I found myself spending hours online, reading more about crossdressing, and each story seemed to draw me deeper into this new world. One day, my wife, Claire, was out for a charity event, leaving me alone at home. I decided it was the perfect opportunity to explore my newfound curiosity. I poured myself a glass of wine and, for the first time, opened a drawer where Claire kept her lingerie. The sight of the silky garments made me hesitate, but eventually, I lost my nerve and closed the drawer. After finishing my wine, I took a shower and put on a bathrobe, then returned to the computer, continuing to read more stories. At that moment, I realized I had become almost addicted to these narratives. With so many men sharing stories of their experiences with cross-dressing, I convinced myself that it wasn't harmful, and soon enough, I found myself standing in front of Claire's lingerie drawer. Claire was very particular about everything, and her lingerie collection was no exception, with each bra and matching pair of briefs carefully organized. I picked out a set, a bra and matching briefs, and, opening my bathrobe, stepped into the silky pink briefs. The material was so soft, a stark contrast to the cotton boxer shorts I was used to. As I adjusted the briefs, I realized they didn't quite match what I had in mind. Having learned a bit about lingerie from my recent readings, I slipped them off, folded them carefully, and returned them to the drawer. I opened the next drawer, and there, laid out exactly as I hoped, was what I was looking for, except for one gap, which I assumed was from Claire wearing something. I saw her little miracle workers, as she called them, alongside matching bras. My hands moved slowly across the items, and I selected a pink satin panty girdle and matching bra. Surprisingly, the color seemed particularly important to me. I stepped into the girdle and adjusted it carefully. It was tight, but at the same time, it felt nice, supporting me in ways I hadn't expected. The girdle held me tightly, just as I had imagined it would after reading about men who wore them in the stories. Looking at myself in the mirror, I could see what Claire meant about her miracle workers. The girdle came a few inches above my waist, making it look slimmer, and the signs of middle age seemed to fade away. I then put on the bra, adjusting the straps until they fit. It was tight but in a good way, just like the girdle. The combination of both felt comfortable. After slipping my bathrobe back on, I couldn't help but feel a little envious of Claire, who could wear these all the time. Walking downstairs, I noticed how the bathrobe slid smoothly over the satin material and how pleasant it felt. After a few more glasses of wine, I read the story that had inspired me to try this out. As the clock ticked, I realized Claire would be home soon. I still needed to return everything to its place. I went back upstairs, feeling the soft satin against my skin as I walked. In the bedroom, I removed the bathrobe and sat on the edge of the bed. The cotton sheets slid over the satin girdle, and I lay back, savoring the sensation. I slipped under the duvet, feeling the smooth satin against the crisp cotton sheets. Turning slightly, I caressed the bra cups, and as the clock read 10:15 p.m., I told myself I would return everything to its proper place in just 5 more minutes, and then go back downstairs, deciding I would never do this again. I slid my hand across the bra and the front of the girdle, feeling my body react, as if jolted just as you're on the edge of sleep. I cursed myself for being so foolish, realizing I could have easily drifted off after drinking so much wine. Just then, I heard a sound at the bedroom door. "Are you awake?" Claire whispered. I barely cracked my eyes open and glanced at the clock, 11:50 p.m. My heart raced, and I feared Claire could hear it pounding in my chest. How would I explain this? I tried to think of a way to avoid getting caught, but I felt sure there was no escape. I just lay there, waiting for Claire to find out. I could hear her undressing, the soft hiss of a zipper, the click of her bra being unclasped, and the sound of her footsteps as she moved around the bed. Then, I felt the bed shift as she climbed in beside me. I was lying with my back to her and felt the mattress move when she settled down. "Are you awake?" she whispered, barely audible over the thumping of my heart. She lay next to me with her back to mine. My relief was almost immediate. My plan was simple, foolproof even. We were back to back. All I had to do was wait for her to fall asleep, then slip out of bed, return the bra and girdle to the drawer, and never repeat this again. It had been 30 minutes since Claire had gotten into bed. Slowly, I grabbed the bed covers and prepared to slip out. I thought about how lucky I was to have avoided discovery, but just then, I felt Claire shift. Her back brushed against mine, and I froze. After a moment, she remained still. I waited 5 more minutes, just to be sure she was asleep. As I lay there, relieved and unnoticed, I found myself becoming more excited by the tension of the situation. What a close call, but one I wouldn't want to go through again. Suddenly, I felt Claire tense up, then shift closer to me. She turned towards me, her hands sliding over my hip as she pressed against my back. Her body seemed to stiffen, and I could feel her fingers brush over the silky material of the girdle. She continued her exploration, her hand moving down to the bottom of the girdle and then up my body until it reached the base of the bra I was wearing. I heard her inhale sharply as her fingers traced the bra, confirming what she was feeling. "David, are you awake?" she whispered. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel.